Welcome to Inside Games, the only gaming news show brave enough to brave the seas of the Caribbean, become pirates, steal loot and booty, and play a game that came out a long time ago. That's right, it's Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. I was lucky enough to be invited by Ubisoft to head up to San Francisco for the day. I walked around, I drank a Turkish coffee, it was delicious and a little weird. So my horizons were expanded. There was an actor dressed up as Edward Kenway who was walking around stabbing people. I got a good photo with him, it was a great time. But I got to play a video game. I got to play Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. Bruce is here to talk to me about it, ask me piratey questions. Thank you for doing that, Bruce, because I'm gonna be honest, it's Assassin's Creed Black Flag. I don't know. There's things to say and I will say them, but it is a remake, so you kind of know what you're getting here to some degree. But it's very capable, played exactly like Black Flag, or like I remember it, which is I think the goal of any good remake. But Bruce, if you have anything loaded up in your cannons, fire away, hit me with some broadsides, because otherwise I'll just keep saying that it's Black Flag again.
Yeah, of course. No, yeah, I absolutely will. I was really excited that you got to play this because this looked. I love Black Flag. I think a lot of people do. One of the only Assassin's Creed games that's stuck in my head, and I am generally not a huge Assassin's Creed fan, but Black Flag I played on my own back then when it came out and loved it. And everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, they turned this into a game with just pirates, and you got yourself a whole video game." And that's maybe my first question, apart from the looks of Black Flag Resynced, is do you think they gave you more pirate gameplay? Like, is it just strictly only pirate gameplay, or did you have to get through some Assassin's Creed stuff before you just got to do pirate stuff?
Oh, no. I mean, it's the exact same thing. Yeah, you...
Okay, all right, yeah.
You start as Edward Kenway, a pirate. You accidentally, on purpose, kill an assassin. You take his robe and his letter, and you basically pretend to be an assassin for the sake of the narrative. But the narrative is really mostly about Edward Kenway kind of establishing a independent city-state for pirates, I guess, and that's what a lot of the story of the game is around. So yeah, and it's a lot of the like pirating activities in the original Black Flag are recreated here. So you have all your on-foot combat stuff, where you run around and beat people up, steal things, and then you have all of your naval combat, where you are broadsiding ships and attacking convoys to steal their resources to upgrade your ships and upgrade your like home base. There's mini games, there's diving bells, you can go down and like loot treasure on the bottom of the ocean floor. There's harpooning, you can hunt bull sharks and stuff like that in the ocean. So kind of, I mean, you know, it's got the slate of the original Black Flag's mini games and all that sort of stuff recreated here. The thing that I find the most interesting is that they're adding, they say it's 6 hours of new content. So they are adding some stuff. And what really intrigues me is that they're adding end game stuff. They're adding quests, 8 new quests at the end of the narrative to sort of expand the conclusion. Because from my memory, Black Flag didn't really have much of one. And this kind of gets into the thing that I'm most intrigued about with Black Flag. So Black Flag, kind of like you said, Bruce, yeah, super popular. A lot of people remember it super fondly. And I think a big reason for that is because it was such a departure. You know, of course you have the iconography of being a pirate versus being more of a landlocked assassin, which is what the previous games always were. Even though Assassin's Creed 3 introduced the naval combat, fun fact, they actually got the designer of Assassin's Creed 3 is the creative director on the Black Flag Resynced. So a lot of the naval combat is exactly as it should be. And he actually is a big fighting game fan. Paul Fu, the creative director, we talked a little bit about Streets of Rage and Street Fighter and how that influences some of the changes they've made to melee combat. I'll get there in a bit. But yeah, I'm most intrigued about the kind of more ending content because Black Flag, I don't know, for Edward's storyline, I remember just kind of ending. They'd kind of teed up a lot of stuff about his lifestyle and his romantic interest, and she wanted him to settle down, but he was just like a vagabond, couldn't help but always be drawn to the horizon, couldn't be locked down at all. So I expected there to be some kind of like commentary or, you know, I expect that loop to get closed there. And I remember like the last story mission just kind of ended and Edward was just kind of still doing his piratey thing. So I'm excited to see more of that. And to me, I think that represents one of the weirder parts of Black Flag, which is that it did just kind of feel like, it didn't necessarily feel like a complete package back when I played it. It felt like a ton of fun mini games all thrown together.
Yeah, so that's kind of my question about these final missions that they've added, at least. I assume it's more pirate content, right? Because that's what everybody wants.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be like you're on the boat doing pirate stuff. And then it's again, this is going to sound ridiculous, or maybe not actually, for a lot of Assassin's Creed. I don't care about the narrative really. That never bothered me.
I don't think a lot of people do. Yeah.
Yeah, and like all the Animus stuff that they would work into Assassin's Creed, all the lore. I was just like I don't necessarily need to want to care about this stuff. I think people just want more pirate. So hopefully they're giving us more pirate. Is that correct at the end of the game?
Oh yeah, Bruce. Okay, I got good news for you. They've completely removed any kind of Animus stuff at all. Great. So there's no modern day anything. Which I don't know. I thought was a fun narrative bit, but I think they kind of ran out of ways to keep it fresh. So yeah, I think this is the right call. Just focus on the things that people like and remember, and try to develop those things as much as they can. And to that degree, they have. A lot of the tech. It's funny talking with some of the game devs. A lot of the tech that they have working in this game were really difficult to recreate, but are working really well. Just being able to jump from like land to water, or from boat to boat, from two surfaces that are bobbing up and down in water. But it all looks really good. It's running in the Anvil engine, so it's got all their modern graphics and stuff that they have. I think it's the same engine they used in Shadows, and that just makes the game look incredible. And I think that's going to be one of the big like wow moments early on, is when you play through the intro, you get your ship, and then you set sail for the first time. You see the emerald waters and these like really amazing looking clouds everywhere. It really does create this like wonder of the ocean. So it really is successful in recreating that.
Yeah, that was exactly, that was the kind of the wonder that I had with Black Flag, is when they first put you into the pirate ship and they're like, okay, now go. And I was like, I can't believe they are letting me go wherever I want, basically, right? Like within reason of the Assassin's Creed open world. And I'm watching gameplay of Resynced, and I think you had sort of told me this earlier. It looks good. Does it look as like, I don't know, next gen as we want it to? I'm not sure yet. I still haven't decided.
I think it does look really good. I think the weather effects look particularly amazing when you're out at sea and there's a storm or like a rainstorm or a thunderstorm or something like that. And then there's a general haze to the air that is kind of newer lighting tech. The one thing I was a bit disappointed in, and who knows, maybe this will be different in the final version of the game, but it looked like all the reflections on the water were screen space and not ray traced. Ooh. It doesn't matter very much because you're not really looking down all that often, but I think there was maybe a little bit of opportunity lost to see like the clouds reflected in the water while you're swimming around and things like that. But it is a very gorgeous looking game, and Ubisoft's tech is pretty advanced. I think it's the right kind of, I think it will trying to think of how to say this. I think it will catch the game up to what people might expect a remake to look like, and even surpass those expectations in some regards. But I think by and large, it will just be like, yes, that's what it should look like in 2026. Whereas, I don't know if it's really gonna like take people's breath away. I think the first couple of times you set sail, or you're sailing through a storm or something like that, I think those are pretty impactful moments.
Yeah, and it sounds like from what you're talking about that the gameplay has stayed either static or gotten better when it comes to pirate gameplay, but also assassin gameplay. I mean, I loved Shadows. I thought it was great, and I really enjoyed the combat in Shadows. So I'm gonna guess it's basically the same, probably a little better.
Yeah, I'd say it's got its own flavor, and I think now's a good time to talk about that. So, apologies, but I've got Assassin's Creed opinions. I tend to like the Assassin's Creeds that are much more slower, and people don't like this, by the way. The people explicitly do not like these mechanics of being slow, being stealth reliant, having consequences for being seen, using gadgets and things like that. I kind of like that version of it, almost more like Hitman gameplay, which is where Assassin's Creed sort of started. But really, Black Flag was the game, at least in my eyes, that was a pretty big shift. I mean, there's Origins, there's the games that kind of changed the formula fundamentally. But I think Black Flag was one of those. Just in general, you moved a lot faster in the original Black Flag. You're much more of a video game character where you can kind of like pivot on a dime. It was not to say that Assassin's Creed controlled well before that. It was always a very sort of you're steering your character as opposed to controlling them sort of situation. Resynced is even more kind of quick, responsive, and video gamey, which I think will make it more popular. I think people like that. My tastes gravitate towards the other way. So to me, playing Resynced was kind of interesting because it's appreciating how these systems have modernized, but back in the day, it was the franchise kind of pivoting away from what my personal taste was. But at the same time, I can appreciate that that's what most people like. So, in that regard, Yes, they have modernized Resynced in a lot of ways, which is to say make it faster, make it buttonier. They did add some cool mechanics to the fighting system, which I'm really excited to talk about because it's I think one of the more fundamental changes to the way the game plays. So I want to say it was I think it was around Assassin's Creed 2 or one of the 2s. When they added parries, then the entire fighting system became about parrying. You would just sit there and wait until an enemy attacked you. You'd parry them, you'd kill them, then you'd wait for the next guy because the parries were one hit versus just having to hack them down with a normal attack. This game uses an interesting system where parries are there, but it's really about inducing the enemy into a state where they can be knocked out or one hit killed. And that can be done in a variety of ways. So if you smack at them a lot and lower a bar, then they'll get stunned and you can just kill them instantly. Or if you land a parry on lesser enemies, that'll immediately stun them. It'll be like Mortal Kombat. You can take them out. There's also a couple of other moves that I think are really fun. There's a sweep and a kick now. So the kick will ragdoll enemies back into stuff, and if they hit a prop, they'll fall into a table and then collapse on the ground, and that will put them in the knockout state. So you can get in these brawls where you're booting people into walls, they bounce off and they're "Bleh," and then you just swipe them in the neck and they fall over. And okay, there's another thing on top of that. Whenever you do a knockout, it can initiate a knockout chain. So then fights become kind of like a puzzle. If there's this group of enemies, you can kind of scan them and be okay, I can put that guy into knockout status by kicking him into the table. Once I knock him out, it'll start a knockout chain and I can use that to piggyback onto the other guys. So you essentially find the weakest link to build this combo in your mind and then go to execute it. And the execution is still pretty straightforward and simple. The designers were pretty clear that this is not meant to be a hardcore game. This is not a Souls game, and I don't think that's why people come to games like this. But it does create at least a layer of intellect to the encounters, where you have some expression in how you do it versus, just kicking back and waiting for people to attack you, and then you parry them to death. And the combat AI has been reworked too, so that it's explicitly going to react to something that you do over and over again. So if you're booting people into tables nonstop, then eventually they'll start dodging your boot and you'll have to figure something else out. And that's I kind of saw that happening. I would be in combat, just kind of mashing buttons, going crazy. And then eventually one ultra pirate would come around and just be Matrix dodging everything. And I had to hit him with an item or sweep him or just do something else. So I thought that was kind of interesting and a weird moment of pushback for a game that in its original form was pretty open with the combat. It was just kill everybody.
That's really interesting that you latched onto that because again, I think most people are coming to Black Flag to play the pirate stuff. Because I was going to ask about the pirate gameplay, and again we'll get to that. But it's really interesting to hear that they've kind of overhauled the assassin combat. And I don't know if did you think it was similar to Shadows, or did it feel like that, or no? Is it entirely new?
No, it was pretty new. The sweep and the kick, I think, are fundamentally new for an Assassin's Creed game. And even the Assassin's Creeds have had chain assassinations before, but and again, I don't know that I can say this with 100% certainty. So Assassin's Creed scholars, please be lenient. But I don't think there's necessarily been a combat system like this where you try to engineer this one moment of vulnerability that you then flip into an entire murder chain. Usually it's you have to sneak up on enemies silently and then you can do a double kill or a chain kill or something like that. I think 3 might have had something like that actually. So I think that's pretty fundamentally new, the sweep and the kick. Plus the kick, I'm just a big fan of ragdolls. I think ragdolls have been underused. So the fact that you can boot somebody and their ragdoll flops over the railing of a ship and into the water, you can script so many cool looking finishers to combat and just really piratey brawl moments. So I'm spending so much time talking about it because it's one of the systems that has been more fundamentally reworked. And to the game's credit, I think, because I think the melee combat wasn't so great in Black Flag. But yes, the naval combat, I think, has been less influenced because I think people like it, right? I think people were totally fine with it. It's more of a DPS race. It's kind of your boat versus the other boat. They did add some things. So there's different kinds of shot now that happen at different ranges. And then they've explicitly programmed the AI to kind of weave in between those ranges with your ship. So you're meant to kind of use your tools properly and stay at the right ranges. And the AI will kind of test that. There's also a perfect brace now. So whenever you were piloting your ship and a cannon shot was coming in, you could hold a button to tell your men to brace, and it would reduce the amount of damage your ship would take. Now you can time that, so there's like a just brace. So there's a couple of executional elements that influence the way that naval combat works now, whereas I do remember very explicitly in Black Flag, especially trying to take down some of the legendary ships at the end of the game, that it was like, oh, this is just a DPS race. And if I there's some things I can do to influence this, but really if I'm bracing at the right time and hitting my shots, that's just it. So I just have to, grind out the upgrades for my ship until I can survive and kill this boat. And I think that's largely what they're sticking with here, which is fine, especially compared to how the on-foot combat works. I think they pair really well now. You have on-foot combat, which is a little more like gadget-based, a little more item-based. And then you have the naval combat, which is a little more kind of just like hit the buttons at the right time and kick back and watch the cool fight happen.
Which was great. That's what everybody loved about it. That's what I loved about it. I really thought they had the ocean combat and the pirate combat, at least on the boat, nailed back when Black Flag came out in 2013. So it's good to hear that they didn't really change much. And it's one of the things that everybody always said over and over to Ubisoft is like, just turn it into a MMO. And then we got Skull and Bones, which, but I think Black Flag really was pretty close to perfect when it came to pirate combat, ship-to-ship combat. So I'm excited to see more of it. I'm watching your gameplay right now. You taking on forts, which is just so cool. It's just really, really awesome. And it looked like, I know Ubisoft gets a lot of shit. People complain about Ubisoft making it. They really do. They get a lot of shit for making games that are like, oh, they're so easy and it's just all the same, mash the buttons, go to the waypoint type of thing. And Black Flag, for some reason, captured everybody's imagination, probably because it wasn't walking around a city. It was, going around the ocean, doing lots of fun mini games. So I'm really looking forward to playing more of this. It looks fantastic. Okay, the most important question, of course, for Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. This is the most important question. I promise they've been yelling at their screen the whole time while watching this. How many sea shanties did you get to sing with your men?
Oh, I don't know about how many. I think I had like 12 or 13 unlocked just at the beginning, but they still do that thing where you can chase sheet music through a city and pick it up to unlock new songs. So that's all there. This is a big deal. Not more than that. Let's say second place. There is a button now in Resynced to put your hood up and down manually.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Never been done in Assassin's Creed, I think. And this is something that I think a lot of fans have wanted in all the games, is to be able to cinematically hood up or down. So yes, there's a button for it now, which is really fun. I saw a lot of people on Reddit were really excited about that. They saw it in a trailer and they're like, oh, finally. So that was really cool. Other than that, just a lot of little bits and bobs about Resynced here that are interesting, but I didn't necessarily talk about explicitly. Swords have perks. There's a trinket gear slot now, so there's a couple of extra things you can do to customize your mans and their abilities. There's the new endgame content I mentioned. There's 3 new naval officers that have their own recruitment quests, so there's some new characters. And then, like I said, there's 8 new endgame missions to kind of expand the story and deliver some conclusiveness that the original game didn't quite have, including some extended ending quests for the characters that you meet in the game. So that's kind of nice, because like I said, I remember the original game just kind of leaving me very floating. So it'll be nice to get a little conclusion there. But thanks again to Ubisoft for inviting me out to San Francisco and buying me dinner. I really appreciate it. I also had a delicious coconut foam cold brew at the event. I'm trying to itemize everything.
Wait, hold on. Did they give you any pirate stuff? They give you a sword or anything?
No. I got a lanyard. I got a card. No. I don't think I got any goodies this time.
Did you get they give you a yacht, maybe a boat?
Not that I remember, unless...
No boat.
Oh, is that where that yacht came from? Oh, no. Oh, no. No wonder the IRS is pissed at me. Shit. So yes, thank you again, Ubisoft. Thank you for checking out our coverage. If you have any lingering comments, you can leave them. I'll try to answer them. Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced is coming to, let's see here, PlayStation 5, PC, and Xbox Series X and S on July 9th.